My name is Chris Peters. I am the Director of Sales for Astra. And today we're going to go over some of the different tools that you can use for IFS reporting. We know that there's a whole lot of tools, and to be completely honest, sometimes it gets a little bit confusing which one's the best tool for you to be using for your reports. So today we're going to go over that. We have a panel of some of our technical reporting experts that are going to be on this call with me as well. Venu is going to go ahead and be doing our presenting. We also have Darek, who is going to be here as well to help answer any questions that might come up. I think we actually might have a couple other staff members that might be joining as guest appearances. If you have any questions, you'll notice that on the main menu tab of the webinar, there is a questions area. You can go ahead and you can answer your questions, and you can ask your questions in there, and then we'll go ahead and answer them as they come about. You can go ahead and ask them at any given time. We might hold those till the end to go ahead and answer those, just to make sure that the presentation continues to move smoothly. But feel free to ask the questions whenever they come to mind, and we'll make sure that we address them as they come up. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Astra. We're going to walk through different types of reporting tools that can be used. We're going to discuss the pros and cons of each of those reporting tools. And then we'll go ahead and discuss the best use for each one of those tools. And like I said, we'll have a question and answer section at the end. But at any point that you want to go ahead and ask a question, please feel free and put it in that questions box, and we'll go ahead and answer it at the appropriate time. A little bit about Astra. We've been a product and services partner since 2008. We have an amazing large team that goes ahead and focuses on the same IFS targeted verticals. We can do anything from a very, very basic report like we'll talk today, all the way up to an upgrade or an implementation. So we have a very robust staff. We also offer a bunch of products that work great with IFS. Fast AP, which will automate your AP process. Fast Docs will take data off of your documents and get it inside IFS. Auto Archive is very popular. It quickly attaches just any documents that you want to file inside IFS. We even offer a product called Fast Photo, where we can go ahead and take any photos off of your mobile and immediately get it inside IFS. And lastly, we offer Decos, which is a platform where we can automate any process outside of IFS, like a supplier portal or master data management. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass the presentation off to my buddy Venu, and he is going to take it from there to go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about today. And Venu, I think you're still on mute, by the way, just so you know.
There you go. Am I audible now, Chris?
Yes, okay. Now we can hear you.
Great. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. As Chris mentioned, we spend time from reports to implementation, and we spend a lot of time actually doing reports. I mean, that just to tell you that a lot of customers come back to us asking for more work to be done on the reports. So you can see that we've been doing this for since 2008. And we've done 600 plus reports, and we've spent a lot of time. When it comes to reports, we also actually help clients put together requirements. We develop the reports, and we also do training, which is training of how to use it, and also trainings on how actually you can develop reports yourself. So all of that, putting the requirements down, or help you develop the reports or develop it ourselves, right? So we've worked with different set of clients, with different kind of clients. We've worked with clients who are from the manufacturing industry or aerospace, healthcare, automotive, oil, gas. Just to give you a perspective on the different clients we work with, and also the areas that we have expertise in terms of understanding the business itself, and also IFS to be able to get the report out. So getting the report out, when we talk about getting the report out, what's a report basically? In the sense that we are talking about today, a report is basically the ability for you to actually extract data out of your IFS system, and there are the users of the system actually key in the data, and you have the ability to kind of extract the data out, into a spreadsheet or a document to be printed, or a PDF, or any such thing, for your analysis, or an Excel spreadsheet for your analysis, or etc. So we will see through our discussion today which of these tools that you see on the screen here offer these capabilities in terms of where you can see this data and how you can get that, and etc. So when it comes to the most simplest way to get data out of the system, out of your IFS system, it's quick reports. We call them we call them quick reports, and it is out of the box. When I say out of the box, it is available as part of the IFS packaging that you get, and you should be able to create reports from using an SQL query, what we call a SQL statement. And you can produce a CSV or a HTML or a text file from this quick report. So when you actually go for this, as I mentioned, you need to know to write a SQL statement. If you have a expertise in team, which using which you can actually write a SQL statement, which means you'll also need to know a little bit of how the database works. The IFS Oracle database is structured. You need to understand the tables inside it, and which is not for somebody who has been doing SQL for a long time. At least they should not find it too difficult. We don't find it too difficult. So, but that's the thing. You need to know a SQL statement writing, and you can expect, if you are expecting simple tabular output, you just want your columns, and you need data out there from the IFS showing the columns, the list of orders that are outstanding. So that could be a good example where it just shows the order line number, and shows you the quantity and the part number, etc. So that could be a very simple tabular output that you can expect, and that kind of thing can go into a quick report. Again, it has some limitations in terms of what you can do, what you cannot. You cannot actually summarize the results. Like if you want to know what is the total number of outstanding orders, etc., or you want to put an image in there. We've seen a lot of customers come back to us, come to us asking if we can put the logo in there, or put some other image, or etc. So those are the times where you actually need to look for other options. Again, if you are a company who has who needs to use different languages, then again, quick reports, you should look beyond quick reports for your solutions. So what next in terms of what other possibility you have is IFS report generator. This is again a simple out-of-the-box tool that you have. And the advantage over here is basically you don't need to know any SQL writing skills. You don't need to have any SQL writing skills, and it's, again, as I said, it's out of the box, and it's available from IFS apps 7.5 and above, and below and above as well. So again, as I mentioned, there is no SQL knowledge. The report is simpler and tabular, but again, if you're looking for images or summaries or anything of that sort, again, you will need to use, you need to think beyond the IFS report generator, and we've seen it mostly fit the finance related data. That's where this gets used a lot by the finance folks. So as you see, the major advantage that you have over a quick reports is the quick reports, which is a SQL based report, is you don't need to know SQL. All right. So, but other than that, it offers this. It kind of have the same limitations which the quick reports has. So if you are not in for these two, if this doesn't solve your purpose, which happens, and that's where you need what we call as IFS report designer. This is something that needs to be built by a developer who has to install a software called as Developer Studio, which is again from IFS, and he needs to write a code which needs to which can basically create a report for you, and you could use that report. Now, to do this, you will need to have SQL and PLSQL knowledge. You'll need to this tool actually gives you basically it's an IFS's tool to kind of for anything, a be all and all kind of a thing for IFS data related reporting. So it can give you language translations, it can give you formatting based on region and languages. You can change formattings, or you can add images. You can we've seen customers who have had reports delivered to them, like say every 4 a.m. every morning, I would like these 5 reports to auto run and come to me as an email. So we've seen clients asking for it, and we've done that, and IFS Report Designer offers you that kind of capabilities. So although I said it's like a be all end all kind of a thing for IFS data, there are some limitations where you may need to look for other tools, which if you like your report to be interactive, like you want to, you're looking at a department, open orders in a department, you want to drill down and see, okay, which are these orders in that department that are open. So if you want to, the report first shows up by department, and then when you want to interactively push a button or something like that to elaborate on that particular department, so such kind of a thing. Or if you're looking for to put a map out there, a US map out there, and then say, okay, every state has this many open orders, or it has this many open cases in every state. So such kind of a thing, a chart or a map, is where you will need to start thinking of other alternates, which we'll talk in a minute. Again, as I mentioned, this is IFS specific, so which also means if you are to get some data out of some other system, which is possible. We have seen clients asking for such requests. Clients have come back saying, okay, hey, I need this report, but I also need to get the latest, conversion rates or anything of that sort from another website. Or they say, okay, this report is good, it's a good 360-degree customer view, but we do case management, we do service management in another system, so can you bring that data as well? So we've seen such kind of service management in another tool, so which means it has another database, it has another structure altogether where it stores data. And if you had any needs where you need to get data from different systems, again, that is where you need to look beyond IFS Report Designer. But otherwise, we have seen a lot of customers who have come to us are quite happy with what we can build them using IFS Report Designer. Before I go out of IFS tools and go to some other tools to give you more, IFS also gives you a very interesting tool called Business Analyst. Again, as the name says, it is more for analysts. The way it works is you can actually install a software which we call as add-in into your Microsoft Excel. And if you already are a Microsoft shop where you're using Microsoft Windows and Excel and all of this, then this is a good tool for you to install in Excel. All that you need to know is how to work in Excel, and that's kind of using the spreadsheet, and you can create whatnot. You can create pivots, you can create charts, you can create images, you can. The limitation is just your Excel knowledge, how much you know of Excel, and how much how many things can you create, because the data will come and sit in your spreadsheet, so you can just play with it. So we've seen a few clients using it. The challenges that we've seen there is it needs a setup. It needs an installation on different laptops or desktops, if whatever you're using, which means it has its own challenges in terms of IT management of software, etc. The data in the Excel spreadsheets can also be edited. Again, if you know Excel, there are other ways to limit that, but that's also an issue that we have seen. And scheduling is something that cannot be possible using this kind of a reporting. Apart from this, one of the major things that we've seen is over a period of time, we've seen a lot of spreadsheets all around the company in different people's inboxes with this capability, and everybody is reporting data from their own versions of Excel spreadsheets, which they may have changed or somebody has helped them change, and it becomes a little challenging for. It may not be a single point of truth. You can't. It could be challenging because it's not standardized across all because you have the ability to edit and change, make your own changes. So we've seen that as one of the constraints, one of the issues, apart from performance, because it's not the optimal way to get data out, because if you don't know how to do it right, then you may be just pulling out lakhs of records from thousands of records from your database onto your Excel spreadsheet if you don't know how to write the queries right inside the Excel sheet. So, although this is a good tool, these are the challenges that we see. So if you have if you have a team or people on board with you who can handle these complexities, I guess this is like another good tool to consider using, if not for long term, but at least for short term. So these are the four, 5 tools that we saw till now. These are all provided to you by IFS, Beyond these are the tools that come from a third party, like what you're seeing now, Crystal Reports, which is actually a third party tool from SAP, and IFS has a built-in support for this. When I say built-in support, if you have developed a report using Crystal Reports, and if you have installed that report in IFS, and IFS can run that report for you. I know this may sound a little technical, but basically, if IFS has to run another company's software, that's what it looks like. So an IFS running Crystal report is that kind of a thing. So, but the thing is, you need to develop this report elsewhere using another tool, which you may need to buy, and then use that tool to develop the reports, and then install it or bring it into IFS. The Crystal Reports itself is a pretty mature software, and hence gives you a lot of capabilities. All that you can actually get from out of an IFS report designer. You can get mostly all of that using Crystal Reports as well. Plus, you can also drill down. You can actually add maps and charts, and as I mentioned, there's some clients who want data from another source, so that's possible as well. From a non-Oracle data source, that's possible as well. So what it does not do when you try to compare that to an IFS report designer is, if you have a drop down in IFS screens, and so, the handling of those drop downs in your report as well as an input parameter, that's a bit of a challenge. It's not when the development is, it takes a lot of time to develop such a thing in Crystal Reports, and there are also some limitations around how you can actually use PLSQL. PLSQL blocks are basically some things that are developed behind your IFS screens that you have, and sometimes when we are extracting data out of these systems, the IFS system, we may need to use these things to comply with how the business logic is designed. So there are some limitations and complexities around it as well, and it also doesn't offer you what we call scheduling, which is actually inbuilt when we talk about IFS Report Designer. So this is to be considered when you already have investment which is gone into Crystal reports for other purposes that you have. So this is a good tool. This is more, there is a possibility of supporting Crystal reports, and if you've already invested in Crystal reports for other reasons, then you can use that as well. There is another third party who can also do a similar job, and that's Microsoft. What we know from our background with IFS is IFS is investing in Microsoft, and they're trying to move towards Microsoft in terms of some of the software capabilities. So SQL reporting services, SQL SSRS, what we call, is a good platform. And if you've already made investments with respect to Microsoft, and if you are a Microsoft shop, what we call, then this could be a good tool for you. There is a need to develop reports using another tool, and you also need to deploy these reports or install these reports in a SQL Server reporting server, which again is part of the Microsoft SQL Server installation. So this is third party, which means you have the ability to do everything that IFS Report Designer plus the Crystal Report Designer could do for you. You can get data from other sources. It is interactive. You can do scheduling, given that SSRS has those capabilities, and you can. It has pretty much everything that you can think of when it comes to reporting. All right, and the things that you may want to consider, or you may want to think for further alternates, is when you want to when you don't have a SQL Server license, then it makes sense for you to either evaluate going back and see if the first 4 tools help you, or if IFS Report Designer helps you, or a Crystal Report Designer helps you. But otherwise, this is one of the choices that even we would, Astra or IFS would also recommend beyond IFS Report Designer if there is a need for it, right? So these until here is where we saw all the different options available for you to kind of get data out of the system. Especially the reporting. Business intelligence is so this is where you actually get the whole data out of IFS into another database and try to run reporting from there. It is very efficient in terms of how quickly the reports can be run, because of the way you have your IFS database, which we call as a transactional database, which is meant to do transactions, which is meant to actually have your orders keyed in, and then you have order lines in relationship to orders keyed in, and it is a transactional database, but it is not a reporting database. When we say a reporting database, it is actually optimized for reporting. It is quick, it is more effective in terms of what are the different views you can get out of it. So business intelligence is one such tool, which again is IFS has used Microsoft's business intelligence stack, and they have used these tools called SSIS, SSAS, and SSRS to kind of help you with business intelligence. And again, you will need a tool called Visual Studio, which is again part of your SQL Server, which is again part of the Microsoft BI stack. Now, the things you can pretty much do, you can pretty pretty much get any kind of data out of this. If once you have a BI set up in your organization, you can get pretty much any data out of the system, out of the IFS system, and you can look at the data from different perspectives. You can look at the data from a country perspective. You can look at the data from say a department perspective, or you can, if you want to look at the data from, let's say, a part category, or you want to look at data from a customer demographic perspective. So a lot of different views, what we call as slicing and dicing, is possible using business intelligence. And I mean, if you want a new report, you could do that as well using Excel, and it has capabilities to integrate with to get data from the business intelligence software. So one thing you need to know is there may be an initial time that needs to be considered into your budgets when you want to think of business intelligence. Because this needs some time, some thinking from your end as well. Although IFS actually has the packages for you, you need to think about how to when to run it, and if you have any specific changes that you have made in IFS, you've added custom fields, etc., then you need to ensure those are also considered in your you need to modify the business intelligence package that IFS gives, so that when the package considers these new additions as well. So that time is, it could be in weeks to months, depending on how much of work has gone into your IFS changes, etc. So, and there's one other challenge that we see is especially with the BI stack is the data. Depending on when, as I mentioned, the data needs to kind of come out of your IFS transactional database and go into another database for the reporting to work. So which means the data may not be latest. So it may not be the recent data. Depending on when you've configured, when is that job, what we call, to pick data from IFS to this reporting database, the data can be old, and it has other challenges of maintaining this BI server stack and the learning curve, etc. So let's just put this into perspective. We have looked at the different tools and to kind of to help us make decisions. Let's put all this into perspective. So let's consider the scenario where you want to kind of create a new report, okay, you've just thought about this new report and you want to get this done. And let's use this chart, this thing here, to kind of help us arrive at what tool to use. Again, we can help you with identifying what tool to use, but this is also something that could be a good learning for you in terms of how to pick the tool. So if you on the left side, you will see that there is you can say the report itself is a simple tabular output, if that is what you need, or if you need a lot of summaries, formatting, if you want to have different languages, images, graphs, if all of these are your requirements, or as I mentioned, you need to look at it from you need to look at your data from different perspectives, slicing and dicing in terms of customers view, in terms of per parts, in terms of their countries or whatever. So that kind of thing is slightly complex. So that's why I put that as a complexity, the increasing order of complexity. And you have another axis here called time axis, where you can get some report out in minutes, hours, or weeks, right? So so when you try to put these tools that we have together on this chart, so using IFS quick reports, you can really get a report out really fast, which means the report will only be a tabular output, and it can be done in minutes. And it's that quick. IFS report generator, it's the same thing. It can give you a little more complexities, but the time can also slightly more. And when it comes to these three tools, the IFS Report Designer, Crystal Reports, and SSRS, they kind of have the same timeline when it comes to generation of a new report. When you want to create a new report, there is initial setup time that is different, and there may not be any time required for IFS Report Designer initial setup. But when it comes to Crystal Reports or SSRS, there needs to be set up again based on your existing environment. Whether do you already have Crystal Reports or SSRS in your company, you can make those decisions. When it comes to business analytics, that's kind of, once you know Excel, once you and that's it can cover a lot of complexity. You can do a lot of summaries, formatting, because Excel gives you all these capabilities. And in terms of time, it could be really quick. And in terms of complexity, it can give you a good amount of complexity into the report itself. And when it comes to generation of a new report in using business intelligence, I mean, it's pretty easy once you have gone through that learning curve of how to create reports, and this can be done using your Excel spreadsheet. So I hope I've given you a perspective of how to look at these different tools and how to make how to help you make decisions on which reports to take. And let me remind you, once you've made a decision on one of the tools, especially if you made a decision on going with the Report Designer or a Crystal Reports or an SSRS, then you may want to stick to them. Especially if it comes to Crystal Reports or an SSRS, so you may want to stick to one of them and go further, because creating every new report in a different tool is not the option for you. You should make a choice that upfront, and we can help you with it if you have questions, or if you have specific in terms of if you have specific situations in your company. We have experts with us who can help you with it. So what are the other options for you to kind of pull data? This is new, and this is called IFS lobbies. You've probably seen, you've heard of this. We find this very interesting in terms of the way you can look at the data. It's a dashboard-like interface. It's interactive as well. You can click and you can get to the details of each of these things that you see there. This is another of possibilities for you to extract data from your system. It has some limits in terms of what data. At this point, IFS is actively working, as we know, and there could be some of these that could go away. But this is more for if you are looking for a dashboard like an interface, then this is the tool that you should use. It has display and data limits, but it offers a good, or it's an executive level display. So with that, I would like to open it for any question and answers. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, again, if you have any questions, you'll notice there's a question box in the menu of the GoToWebinar. You can enter your questions there. Venu, we do actually have a couple questions that I'm going to open up to Venu, as well as we also have Darek, and we have Sai, and we have a few other people on our team here that are able to answer these. So the first question I have that I think Darek might be wanting to be the one to answer is, where can you get table definitions inside at IFS?
This is a question for me. Table definitions, the best way to get tables out of IFS, actually not tables, because users do not have access to tables. Users are supposed to have access to views. In IFS, tables are only owned by application owner user, and if you have access to application owner and a password, then you can use tables, but you're not supposed to use tables in quick reports and most of other tools except Report Designer. Anyway, the best way to get the info from IFS, what tables or views you're supposed to use. It's using debug console or system info tab on the below panel of IFS application. These are like the best options. Also, you can try to use, if you want to find, for instance, specific column name that you need to know exactly the name of this column. You can use so-called advanced query. In advanced query, you can see the build-up of a SQL word statement. So, for instance, you can put some value to the column name in the query window that you want to know the actual database value, and then click on Advanced tab, and it will show you the actual database column name.
Okay, thank you. The next question that we have also pertains to tables, so you might have touched on this a little bit. Is also when we were discussing the slicing and dicing some of the information. If the report was originally set up, and it didn't have. Let me reread this. I think I'm wording this incorrectly. During the original setup of a report, if you're missing some data that was not originally part of the table that you set up, can it be added at a later time?
Yes.
That was a very simple answer. Thank you.
Yeah. Might be complicated to do it, but answer is simple yes.
Okay. Another question is when it comes to crystal reports, can we discuss it a little bit more? There's different ways of using the tool. Plugin reports is one of them. But there was questions of the different types of differences in crystal reports. Can you discuss that a little bit? Is that something that's a little bit deeper? Or are you able to give a brief summary of the different ways of using the crystal reports?
Oh, I'm not expert on crystals. There was, is it Prashant here available?
Prashant's not on. Sai, are you available? Is crystal reports for you, or is this something that we should reach out on after this webinar is completed?
Chris, I think it calls for a deeper discussion in terms of where the question is coming from. So can we take this offline?
Yeah, of course. So for that, we'll reach out to you one-on-one so that we can dive a little bit deeper into that. We have a couple questions about BI on here. Does IFS security still apply, or do you have to manage the security to data outside of IFS?
The data is outside of IFS already, so the security needs to be managed as well.
Okay. Another BI question is does the BI tool require an IFS license?
So to be able to get data out of IFS database, you will need to have an Oracle. I guess it's required. I guess that's. I mean, I can get back with exact information, but I think it is. You need to have an Oracle database license for sure. Okay.
Another question that I have, and I apologize, I'm making sure I get this correct, Venu, but you are much smarter about BI than myself. Is Power BI different than regular BI, or is that the same thing?
I don't know what Power BI offers. This is again something that Microsoft has been talking about, but I don't think there is a active integration going. I mean, at least as of today, we don't probably have anything that that is out there from IFS for the current versions with respect to Power BI. And it probably offers a little more in terms of being on the cloud, etc. But at this moment, we probably do not have anything that is out of the box or coming from IFS for Power BI.
Okay. Another question that is a follow-up question about the IFS license being required. The question says, and it extracts the data to the Microsoft SQL Server instance. The process is already in place, is the question. And then it also says, so the views, extract logic, cubes, report against, they are already created. We don't have to recreate all this stuff, is what the question is. Is that answerable, Venu, or is that maybe something we should also take off? I think I'm a little confused reading that question, but.
Okay, I'm reading the question. So it extracts data to a Microsoft SQL Server instance. This process is already in place. So the views extract logic, cubes to report against. They're already created. We don't have to recreate all this stuff. Yes, there are. I mean, the IFS BI package actually comes with the required code, or what we call as SSIS packages, to extract data from the IFS system, and it also uses the already SSAS packages, analysis server packages, which can create cubes as well. So we don't have to create them. We may have to change if you have an IFS system where there you have done some custom stuff, especially in terms of new fields, or you have some nomenclature changes, etc. So that's when you will probably need to kind of modify these packages. I hope that answers that question, or maybe we can take it offline if there is further follow-up on that.
Okay. An answer to the Power BI question, by the way, thank you, Bob Corrigan, is that Power BI is supported. And examples are included starting with Apps 9 Update 5. So that's to go back to the Power BI question. Another question is, what is the advantage / difference of BA tools as opposed to using a Microsoft query within Excel?
I haven't used the Microsoft query within Excel, so I don't think I'll be able to talk about the difference.
Okay. Is that something that maybe we could follow up with Prashant outside of this call, you think?
Sure. Yes.
I always default to Prashant knowing everything because he knows everything. This one I think is for you as well, Venu. How much can we customize the extracts from SSRS?
Well, I don't seem to understand the question. How much can we customize the extracts from SSRS? SSRS is basically the reports. So those are the report definitions. So you need to create those report definitions for you to be able to share. I mean, you can always change the SSRS reports. You can change the SSRS reports to suit your needs. I mean, there are. If you may be pointing to SSIS packages, which is customizable.
Okay, and I think there was a follow-up to that came out was, can we augment the SSRS cubes with external data?
Yes, given that this database, this data comes from, this comes and sits into SQL Server database. So, and if you can change the packages that bring data in there, I'm pretty sure you can do that.
Okay. Another question in regards to SSRS, do non-technical users create reports in SSRS?
No.
Perfect. Okay. And then let's see. Gary, you have some great questions. I'm gonna go ahead and follow up with you after this because we can definitely help you out. But I think we're gonna get way more deep dives in this because they're very specific questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and follow up with you on your questions offline. Another question is for the reports, are they available in all versions of IFS that we've discussed?
Which reports are we talking about? Lobbies are available 9 and above. but other tools pretty much in all the versions.
Okay, perfect. If anyone else has any more questions, remember, please just put them in the questions box. The last one that I have gotten is also, Vanu, when you showed that graph of the different times for how long it takes to create these reports, is there some guidelines on times of about how long it's expected for those reports to take? I know we said that some can take minutes and some can take weeks, but is there, when we're talking weeks and minutes, are we talking 10 minutes and a week, or are we talking 8 weeks?
Okay, well, I guess the answer is simple. It basically depends on how complex the report is, and what is the underlying data that we need to extract out. So it is a more of a it depends kind of an answer. Uh, it could be minutes using the report generator or the quick reports, but that can give you only tabular output, and it can only take a single SQL query. So basically, from minutes to weeks, we have seen some very complex reports go on for weeks.
Maybe I can give an example. Let's say you got quick report. It's just single query. You can also make it a report designer. So if you've got this query, quick report can be done in 5 minutes. And the same thing, the same query in report designer could take 4 hours, for instance.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Another question that's come up, this is actually a great question because I think everyone's thinking this. Based on all the options you've mentioned, what is the best solution where the users actually write their own reports? We prefer a self-service environment. So given the options, what is the best mechanism for empowering the users to be responsible for writing their own reports?
I would say the BA reporting, because I mean, you can work from inside Excel spreadsheet, and given that we are talking that if users can create themselves, whom I assume to be non-technical, your BA tool could be a good start.
Okay, perfect. I think that is all the questions that we have. So as I wrap up, if you do have a question, now would be the time to get it in. But we will go ahead and we've recorded this webinar. We're going to go ahead and we'll send you an email link probably in the next 48 hours or so that you can go ahead and refer back to it in case someone wants to make it or you want to go back to it. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you out with any questions you have on reporting. It definitely is a very complex piece that people have a lot of questions about. We do have another question. Does the BA tool use the SSAS cubes?
No. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. So again, if you have any more questions, like I said, Gary, I'm going to reach out to you and we can talk offline about a lot of your questions. We'd love to help you out. But if you have any questions, my email is displayed right now on the screen. You'll also be getting an email from me with the link to this recording, so you can respond there, as well as you can see my cell phone number. You can give me a call anytime. So we want to thank you again for taking the time for this webinar. Again, I think more questions will probably come up after you leave, so please feel free to ask those questions. We'd love to help you out. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your day, and please enjoy your weekend as well. Thank you again so much for taking the time for our webinar.